Hi guys, how are you today? Welcome back to my channel Adventures in America. If you are new to my channel, my name is Jocelyn and I'm a dual citizen of the United States and the Philippines. For today's video, we are going to talk about the latest US travel system starting November 8th. There are a lot of changes that will be happening on that day, and we will discuss who are allowed to enter. We are also going to discuss the new entry requirements for foreign nationals who are fully vaccinated, and also the vaccines acceptable or approved in the US or World Health Organization. In addition, we will also discuss the requirements for unvaccinated Americans, green card holders, and children. There are a lot of questions surrounding this topic, and also there are quarantine requirements. But before we get started, please like this video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Now let's talk about the new US entry requirements starting November 8th. There's a lot of changes that will be happening, and there are several announcements from the Biden administration regarding the travel health protocols. And all of those who wanted to come to USA must abide or comply with all these requirements, so you will not be denied entry or boarding. So let's compare. So before November 8th, the travel requirements are as follows. There's actually a travel ban imposed against 33 countries. The countries included are China, Iran, European Schengen area, United Kingdom, Republic of Ireland, Brazil, South Africa, and India. However, there are exceptions to the travel ban, such as US citizens and permanent residents coming from those banned countries are exempted, and also there are national interest exceptions. Also, please remember, under the current rule or before November 8th, there is a requirement of a negative COVID test within 3 days before your departure from your country or origin, or you must have a proof of recovery from COVID within 90 days of flying. Now, let's talk about the new changes that will be implemented under this new US travel system. Now, under the new US travel system starting November 8th, the travel ban against those countries will finally be lifted after about 20 months. In addition, there is now a new US travel system including contact tracing by airline companies. Also, travelers from banned countries needed to be fully vaccinated to enter the USA on November 8th. Now, here are the new entry requirements for foreign nationals, those included in the current travel ban once it is lifted. First, proof of full vaccination. Second, you must have a pre-departure negative coronavirus test within 3 days of flying. So these are the two important requirements if you are planning to come to the US starting November 8th. Now, let's talk about the first requirement for foreign nationals, and that is, first, you must have proof of full vaccination. Please take note of the definition of a fully vaccinated individual. Now, foreign air passengers will need to provide vaccination documentation from an official source, and airlines must confirm the last dose was at least 2 weeks earlier than the travel date. So please remember that there are important information that you needed to disclose when you are presenting your proof of full vaccination. Now, here are the requirements. The first requirement is that the personal identifiers, such as your name or birth date, must match the travel documents that you will be presenting. In addition, the name of official source must be recorded, the vaccine manufacturer, and the date of vaccination. Now, let's talk about the calculation of the 14 days for purposes of traveling to the US. There is a certain calculation. Now, how are the 14 days calculated? Your last dose must have been given a full 14 days before the day you board your flight to the US. Now, in addition, you are considered fully vaccinated on the 14th day after the vaccination series was completed. For example, your last dose was anytime on October 1st, then October 15th would be the first day you meet the 14-day requirement. So please remember this calculation for purposes of being fully vaccinated. The airlines are going to check the proof of full vaccination. Now, let's move on to the second important requirement when traveling to the US. It's also the same requirement as the current rule, and it is the pre-departure negative coronavirus test within 3 days of flying. There are actually specific requirements regarding this negative test. It must be a viral test. It could be an antigen or an RT-PCR test. Also, masking will be required, and there are specific requirements when wearing your mask. For purposes of travel, there will be no quarantine for fully vaccinated individuals. Now, there is an important announcement from the Transportation Security Administration. The TSA plans to issue a security directive that provides the legal basis for airlines implementing the vaccine requirements. Now, let's talk about the vaccines that are accepted in the US. There are specific vaccines and there are vaccines that are not acceptable. First, there are vaccines that are approved for emergency use by the US Food and Drug Administration, and also vaccines approved for emergency use by the World Health Organization. Now, what are the vaccines that are approved by the US FDA? Here are the list of vaccines. We have Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and Pfizer-BioNTech. Now, let's move on to the vaccines approved for emergency use by the World Health Organization. Here are the list of vaccines. Please remember the vaccines could be added during this time. Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer-BioNTech, Oxford, AstraZeneca, Covishield, Sinopharm, and Sinovac. Please remember there will be other vaccines that could be added after November 8th. Now, which vaccines are not currently approved in the US? Now, here are the list of vaccines not approved for purposes of entering the US. First is Sputnik 5. Second, Novavax. Third, Abdala. And fourth, Soberana. So these are the vaccines not approved, but eventually could be approved by the World Health Organization. However, there are vaccines that were administered by mixing and matching the vaccine series. Now, the CDC has released an official statement. It confirmed that it would accept a mix and match approach to vaccinations, and those who receive those vaccines will be considered fully vaccinated for purposes of traveling to the US. Now, CDC has yet to release information regarding vaccines not approved and were administered to US citizens abroad. Previous announcements indicated that unvaccinated US citizens will need to get tested within 1 day of flying. So they will be considered as unvaccinated. Now, what are the rules for unvaccinated children? The Biden administration has officially announced that children will be exempt from the vaccine requirements. So currently, air passengers who are 2 years old and above will need to have a negative COVID test within 3 days of flying. So unvaccinated children will have a negative COVID test within 3 days of flying, and they are exempted from the COVID vaccine requirements. Now, non-tourist travelers from 50 countries with nationwide vaccination rates of 10% are also exempted from the COVID vaccine requirements. Also, it was announced that those who are receiving exemptions will need to be vaccinated in the US within 60 days of arrival. Now, let's talk about the rules for unvaccinated Americans. There are a lot of questions that I received for unvaccinated Americans or permanent legal residents. Americans will not need to be fully vaccinated to board international flights to the US. However, there are specific rules for unvaccinated Americans. Before arriving in the US, you need to get tested within 1 day of departure. So this will be the requirement. Negative test within 1 day of flying to the US. Now, I received several questions regarding the rules for unvaccinated green card holders or legal permanent residents to the US. There is actually no clear rule regarding this, but unvaccinated green card holders will be treated as unvaccinated Americans. So you will be required to get tested. You need to have a negative test within 1 day of flying. So make sure that before traveling to the US that you need to get tested within 1 day before your departure so you can be allowed entry in the US unless the Biden administration is proposing a different rule on November 8th. Now, for those asking for exemptions, the CDC said there are no religious exemptions for international travelers to avoid COVID-19 requirements. Now, the White House also provided a statement that unvaccinated Americans, including permanent residents receiving exemptions, will need to provide proof of negative COVID test within 1 day of departing. Because of the new US travel system that will be implemented, airlines will collect personal information, including a phone number and email from all US-bound travelers for contact tracing purposes. All passengers arriving by land from Mexico and Canada will also be allowed entry to the US starting November 8th. However, only those who are fully vaccinated will be allowed to enter the US for non-essential reasons. And those fully vaccinated foreign nationals can cross the land borders for non-essential reasons such as tourism or visiting family and friends. Now, those foreign nationals from Mexico and Canada who will be traveling to the US by land needed to have proof of vaccination, and paper or digital copies of vaccination are acceptable. Now, airlines are required to keep information for 30 days so that health officials can follow up with travelers who may have been exposed to COVID-19. Again, thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. I always welcome new subscribers. Again, thank you guys for watching. I hope everyone is staying safe and have a great day.